You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 293.
Hi everybody, we're back on a beautiful day. I stepped outside the back door this morning on the way down to Backpacking Light Towers, and I turned my face towards the sky and felt sunshine and warmth. Oh, what a terrific feeling. We've got a great show for you, and it's coming right after this.
Never knew that the blue in the sky was so blue. Could it be that I'm finally all over you? 'Cause I woke up free of stormy weather, feeling so fine, dancing in sunshine. Gonna move to the beat of my shuffling feet, slow glide down the sunnier side of the street. Lately life is lighter than a feather, the world is mine and I'm dancing in sunshine. There's promise in the air that's never been there before, and I get this feeling more and more. The love is waiting for me. I can see how my story will be from now on. This is the part where the heartache is finally gone. Gonna turn today into forever, spending my time dancing in sunshine. The blue in the sky was so blue. Could it be that I'm finally all over you? 'Cause I woke up free of stormy weather, I'm feeling so fine, dancing in sunshine. Gonna move to the beat of my shuffling feet, slow glide down the sunnier side of the street. Lately life is lighter than a feather, the world is mine and I'm dancing in sunshine. There's promise in the air that's never been there before, and I get this feeling more and more. The love is waiting for me. I can see how my story will be from now on. This is the part where the heartache is finally gone. Gonna turn today into forever, I'm spending my time dancing in sunshine, feeling so fine, dancing in sunshine. The world is mine, dancing in sunshine. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh, a bit of mellow jazz from Joel Evans and Friends in the morning. It has got to be a good thing. And that available is just recently been released by Cinemasters label, and the album's called Cocktail Combo, and it's full of tracks with that kind of groove. Fantastic. So what have we got for you on today's show? Well, we have a couple of things. We have a great interview with Gayle of Mick and Gayle, some well-known bloggers who are currently doing walking from the south of England to the north of Scotland, and I'll explain more about that in a moment. And we also have another interview from the outdoor show, the recent outdoor show, with the tourism officer from Anglesey, which is quite useful. But first, a couple of little topical things I want want to mention. Firstly, that it is now early April, and we will be down at the Backpackers Club show, which is looming sort of mid-April. Have a look on the Backpackers Club website, and you'll see the details there. So if anybody wants to see any goodies that we might have in our collection, please make sure you drop us an email, and we'll bring some stuff down to see. And that's the show is on the Saturday at the Bath Racecourse. So if you're based in the southwest of England, perfect location. And the other thing is, of course, the general election is upon us. And I'm already fed up with it, and it's only 2 days old. However, the most important election, egotistically speaking, is the European Podcast Awards. Hurrah! We're back again. And so we've nominated 3 of our podcasts for awards, or to be entered into the award scheme. The one where Rose does her triathlon, one of the ones from the TGO Challenge of last year, and also one of Beth's from Croatia. So if you have a moment and you enjoy listening to these podcasts, please pop along to the European Podcast Award website. There's a link on the front page of Backpacking Light, and also we'll put a link on the outdoor station as well, and you can vote, and your vote is greatly appreciated by us. And of course we won, thank you to everybody, the Business Podcasters of the Year award last year for the UK, which was very good, and very, very pleased with that. So anyway, let us get on to Evan Milner. Evan Milner is the project officer for Anglesey, or the Anglesey Area of Outstanding National Beauty. And I caught up with him at the recent outdoor show at the NEC and asked him basically what is there to do on Anglesey for the backpacker or cyclist.
Certainly as a hiker there's plenty to do. We have the Anglesey Coastal Path, which is a 126-mile route all along the coast of the island. As a cyclist, there are various cycle tracks, and there's a long-distance trail that goes from Llangefni down to the coast as well, and various little cycle routes dotted around the island.
So if I wanted to make my way over to Anglesey, where's my launch point?
I would say Bangor or Holyhead. Those are the 2 big train station towns that we have. It is possible that you can get smaller River trains which will stop on various local sites along the island. But the main site, I would say, is either Bangor or Holyhead, and you can centre your journeys around there.
And presumably, if there's 120 miles of coastal path to walk round, the network, the public transport network's fairly good if you decide to do a week or a weekend and actually get back to Bangor.
There are plenty of buses and a regular bus service all along the coast, which you can pick up from any of the libraries as well. They have the bus timetables there, which you can pick up and use.
So are the roads fairly quiet for cyclists if you want to do some cycle touring?
The cycle routes that we've designated are very quiet, yeah, and there are plenty of quiet back roads that you could go on if you really wanted to and avoid lots of traffic. There are 2 national cycle networks across the island, but those are on quite busy roads. But if you wanted to go along the coast, there's plenty of small quiet roads to do it on.
And what about other sort of outdoor activities? How about sort of sea kayaking or sailing or fishing and that type of thing?
Yeah, we have sea kayaking, we have coast steering, sea cliff climbing, we have sea fishing. We also have coast fishing along some of the big lakes that we've got on the island as well.
Now, I noticed looking at the OS map we've got on the wall here that there's dotted around there some wind farms, one big one by the looks of it. I'm just curious to know, has that affected the tourist trade or any of the local feeling towards sort of self-sustaining?
It's not affected the tourist trade as we know it, but because they're all centred within the middle of the island. Some B&Bs, I think, actually make a business out of getting people to come and stay close to the wind farms, you know. But in terms of tourism, it's had very little effect at all.
It's just a fairly hot topic at the moment, and it's just curious to know what the sort of local feeling is towards it.
Local feeling is quite positive towards it, really. You know, and now we're going to have a big one out between us and the Isle of Man as well, and there's mention about marine turbines along the coast as well, and people are quite favourable, especially when you consider that we might be a site for a new nuclear power station as well.
Well, there's something to look forward to. Well, I think we've probably touched most things about Anglesey there. Is there anything else that would be worthwhile people knowing about?
Yeah, I mean, the area of outstanding natural beauty is one of the key points for Anglesey, and we, as an AONB service, run quite regular events throughout the year with volunteers as well. So if anybody wants to come along, they're best looking at our AONB website.
And the website address is?
anglesey.gov.uk/AONB.
Anytime, any place, anywhere.
This is the Outdoor Station. 1 million listeners worldwide can't be wrong.
It's all about the great outdoors.
And of course, as always, there is a website for Anglesey, if that's tempted you at all, which is anglesey.gov.uk. And for people who aren't based in the UK, Anglesey is spelt Anglesey, and have a butcher's there. As I say, I think I never seem to get there quite. I must make more of an effort, actually. It's just past Snowdon as far as we're concerned, so it should be worth the extra trip. Let's move on to part two. Part two is a longer interview with Mick and Gayle, or Gayle from Mick and Gayle, rather. Now, regular listeners and outdoor online new media people will recognise the name Mick and Gayle. They run a very successful and very interesting and a very informative blog site. The website, while you listen to this, is gayleybird.blogspot.com, and Gayleybird is spelt Gayley bird.blogspot.com, and they are currently doing another one of their long walks. Now, I interviewed them last year when they did Land's End to John O'Groats, and while they were doing that, they were thinking of another long walk they could do, and this time they have chosen to walk from Dover to Cape Wrath, or Kent to Cape Wrath, as they've abbreviated it to, as K2CW, as she's calling it for short. Now, we are on, as I say, it's early April as I record this, and when I looked at the Blogspot just before recording the show, they were on about day 17. So they've now left, the Kent area. They've come through London. They've made it to the Tamworth, which is where they're based, so they've had a couple of days rest, I believe, and they're now starting off on the next section up to the Lake District and on towards Scotland. So I had an interview, had a chat with Gayle just before they left in March. They left on March the 22nd, and I asked her how the preparations were going before they actually set off. And, well, this is our conversation.
Preparations are going well. We're now, 2.5 weeks before we set off, and I'm just really starting to enter panic mode with all the things we haven't done. Particularly, I'm getting a bit worried about snow in Scotland.
Oh, it'll all be gone by the time you get there.
There's an awful lot, isn't there?
I was looking at your blog site the other day and the routes. I suppose it's because the names aren't familiar. It seems like it's not particularly rural. So how's the planning gone from a camping point of view?
Well, we're wild camping an awful lot in Scotland. I think at most we're 4 days in between either campsites and B&Bs. But it's generally sort of 4 nights then somewhere in civilization and then 4 nights somewhere in civilization. But that said, it was awfully easy to plan this trip because we are following routes a lot of the way.
What sort of established walking routes?
I mean, from right down south, we start out on the North Downs Way, then we're going up canals, then we're going up the Staffordshire Way, Limestone Way, then it's a bit of cross-country, a bit of the Calderdale Way. Where do we go then? Onto the Dales Way, a bit of cross-country, really to link up with the middle of Scotland, then the Highland Highway, which then links up with the Cape Wrath Trail. And
what about going through London itself, or going round London? How are you managing that?
We're going right through London, Thames Path, in fact, so yet another long-distance trail. We're, I think the most tricky bit was actually how to get from just north of Rochester to hit the Thames, because there's a few rivers in the way. And obviously you need to find a bridge. So up to Dartford and up to London was probably the trickiest, and then we're just going right through London. And there's a campsite in London, just by Greenwich, Abbeywood campsite, so we're going to stay there for a night. And then we pretty much walk from there through London in a day.
Gosh, so you're taking a little black number with you then?
too lightweight for that.
Comparing it to your last Land's End to John O'Groats trip, are you using pretty well the same sort of equipment and the same approach, or is there anything particularly different that's happened in the, 2 years since you did that one?
Yeah, it was 2 years in April that we set off on the last one. And I think the main difference between the last one is that 2.5 weeks beforehand I felt vaguely organised, that I knew what I was taking. I'd actually had all the gear out, I'd tried it on, I'd tested it, and this time, maybe a bit of complacence that we've done it before. I've not actually had all of the kit out, and, still even a question mark this week as to which pack I'm going to carry. That one was a lot harder to organise because it was not on recognised trails. I had to find all of the campsites. This one was a lot easier to organise, and perhaps because of that, again, I've sat back and thought, well, the organisation was easy in terms of what route we're going to walk. So I've not really thought about the alternatives if something goes wrong. And even this evening, I've been sitting looking at maps, thinking, Scotland, if there's too much snow, how are we going to avoid all these hills I've planned without walking the West Highland Way? Because I really don't want to walk the West Highland Way.
I suppose I've just spoken to somebody who's doing Land's End to John O'Groats, but they're doing it. They're running all the way.
Okay.
And he's going for a world record on that, which is admirable.
Absolutely.
But the visualisation I have from speaking to you and other people about, the Land's End route, even if it's sort of off-road, it's fairly undulating and quite, I'll say mountainous, but quite hilly in places, particularly you've got Offers Dyke and you've got the sort of the other route that you took there.
And don't even underestimate Cornwall, because even if you go to the middle of Cornwall, as we did, it's quite undulating, and Devon slightly less so, but, it really is not big hills, you've only got a few hundred feet at a time, if that, but it's just constant up and down. And then you hit Offers Dyke, which is slightly bigger up and down the whole way, and then obviously the Pennines are quite up and down, and yes, it can be quite undulating.
So how does the planning for the East Coast compare? Is that similar?
Well, so the East Coast has been a lot easier to plan because we're using recognised routes this time. So following those pink diamonds on the map to plot the route has been a lot easier than trying to follow little field paths that are just one of any number set of dots across terrain, obviously on a 150k map, which is what I'm using. You can't see whether it's fields and what have you. You just know that you're following pink dots. So it's a lot easier on the recognised trails to actually plot the route. I guess what you lose on the route we're taking is that there's not so many campsites. So we're being quite bold, and we're even wild camping the first night when we're right down in Kent. But in terms of the actual planning, I found it easier, but maybe that's because it's not the first time that I've planned something of this size. Maybe it is because we're following recognised routes and there's more information out there.
And also, that to be fair, I mean, I found it with doing something like the TGO Challenge, after you've done it a couple of times, your approach to planning, because you've got the experience of dealing with things when they go wrong or when they happen and having to make a decision, it doesn't build up to being such a big anticipation in your mind. So perhaps because you've done the other trip before, that you're sort of, although you're starting to feel nervous, that you're perhaps a bit blasé about it now, I get the feeling it's more a case of you know that you can cope with most of the things that it might throw at you, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I guess we can cope with the things that it throws at us, and I guess I have got in my mind, the plan of what we'll do if this happens. We know we can do this, and we've got more technology this time, so we've actually got the internet at our disposal on the move, as long as we've got a signal as well. So if we have a sudden, oh my goodness, we need to know this bit of information, it'll be easier than it was last time. And as you say, having done it before, there's less of there's more confidence, less of the concerns that we know that we can navigate through this terrain. We know that we've walked this sort of terrain, and it just gives that extra little boost to the confidence that we've done it before, therefore we can do it again. But on the flip side of that, if I go into the negative state of mind, it's, well, have I got too much confidence? Am I being too complacent about this? There's an awful lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, particularly at this stage, it's the constant worry, what if I fall down a rabbit hole tomorrow and twist an ankle, and, what if we're out in the wilds and something does go awry?
Well, yeah, I'm just wondering, now you're saying you've got internet connection in whatever format on the way. I wonder if that really is going to change the dynamics of it, the remoteness of sort of what you're doing.
Well, I'm not going to be banking on having a mobile signal at any point. In fact, I've even been considering the different networks, just simply from a blogging point of view, as to how I'm going to make sure that I can blog as often as possible. But what having the mobile internet will do for us is, where previously we wanted to know a little bit of information, if we'd heard a whisper that there was some really bad weather coming tomorrow, and we're thinking about doing an extra 6 miles today, then I'd phone somebody and say, what's the weather forecast looking like, just to verify that whisper we'd had. Whereas now we can actually look that up ourselves without having to trouble somebody and say, are you in front of a computer, can you do that for me? So it would be nice to be more self-reliant to find that information. I mean, obviously, if we can't find that sort of thing, it's not an issue. The weather will be what the weather will be. But it's nice to know that sort of thing in advance. You know, if I need to know if there's a B&B accommodation, it's nice to be able to find that without troubling somebody else, even though the reality is we could just get to that place and ask around. It's just, I find it, from my own state of mind, nice to know in advance.
Well, you are one of life's planners. I think you freely admit that.
Yes, I very much am.
And how's Mick coping with the preparations? Is he as chilled as ever?
He is. He's perhaps was a little bit less chilled than me this time on the food dehydration, because we've now got 2 dehydrators.
Right.
I was being very laid back and saying that, it's not going to take us long. We can wait a while. And he was saying, no, we need to do it now. So apart from about 5 meals, all the food is dehydrated now. We've got piles of the stuff. I'm sitting next to it now.
Well, I saw your picture on your blog, and there's a mountain of it, even though it's all dried.
Yes, there's. I think at that point we were at 57 meals, and we're now at about 80-something.
Gosh. Did you get those recipes I sent through to you?
I certainly did. The first one didn't even make it to the dehydrator. We had a little sample and thought, that's nice. It was the chili prawns. We thought, that's nice. And we ate some for lunch, and a very, very small amount made it into the dehydrator. And purely for testing purposes, we then rehydrated that batch and tasted just as good. And the same with the salmon pasta sauce one. We made a batch of that, and absolutely none of it made it to the dehydrator. But we have since made more and dehydrated that. So yes, thank you for those.
Oh, it's nice to know you've got something different to your normal sort of menu to look forward to, isn't it?
Indeed, we've tried a few different things this time, just sort of really, so we've got more than 5 meals apiece to eat in rotation. So yes, looking forward to a bit more variety.
So talking about different this time, what is significantly different this time? It's 2 years. It doesn't seem an awful long time between the last trip and this one, but I'm sure there must be 1 or 2 really significant changes.
I'm not sure there is. I mean, we've taken the same approach in planning in terms, I've plotted it on electronic mapping with the assistance of some full-size maps where that's been helpful. Same resources, really. We're taking pretty much the same kit. We're taking the same sort of food. I think we're pretty much even wearing the same brands of footwear, even though slightly different models, perhaps. Same clothing. More or less, certainly things that we've tried and tested over the years. So there's not actually been an awful lot of difference, from the whole approach. If it ain't broke, why fix it?
Well, I suppose that's a good thing for people to hear as well, that once you've bought the kit and you've walked Land's End to John O'Groats, you can do it again with exactly the same stuff. There's no reason to keep topping up. No,
and I guess there is a little bit of... can I make it better? Can I make it more comfortable? Is there something better out there? Am I missing something? And so even though I found the O&M Villain pack really comfortable from Land's End to John O'Groats, I am thinking, well, is there something that would be even more comfortable? And I'm coming rapidly to a conclusion that within what I already own, no, there isn't. And I've certainly not tried anything in a shop that feels better, so I am probably going to be walking with that same pack. I've had many experiments with footwear, some of which have gone back to the shops and some of which are lining the hallway as we speak. But I'm pretty settled. I'm probably going to be wearing the same trainers as I set out from Land's End in to set out from Kent, and when we get to Scotland I'm going to be switching to the same make and model of boots as I wore last time. So rather unexcitingly, we've not become gear freaks in changing things for this particular trip.
What about last time I'm right in thinking you took a wood burner, didn't you? Are you taking that again this time?
Something I was even thinking about today. We're not going to take it when we set out from Kent. We're actually getting quite a few beds on the way from Kent to home. We're actually getting home 2 weeks after we set out and spending a few nights here whilst we sort of walk by and using public transport to get back and forth. So for the first couple of weeks, we're not actually camping more than, I think, 5 nights. So it's just not worth taking the extra weight for that bit of the trip. Whether I decide to have it sent to us when we get to Scotland, I'm seeing a bit of a change in kit coming to us when we get to Kilsyth. I'm going to switch from trainers to boots at that point, and probably going to switch back to my Paramo jacket. And I'm considering whether I want to have the bush buddy sent to me at that stage. But also in my mind is the fact that Scotland's where we used it least the last time round. So it's whether it's worthwhile, because it is a very big gas saving when I can use it. It's a good midge repellent when we can use it. It also covers me in soot when I use it, because I always forget about the soot. But it's still really open to question whether I am going to have it sent to us. And I guess it's not really a decision that I need to make until a few days before, when I phone my sister and say, right, this is what I want in the parcel.
Yes, I was going to ask you whether you've got somebody to pack, cherry-pick the items for you and pack whatever you need when you're nearer to to Scotland or wherever.
Yeah, we'll do pretty much the same as last time. We'll get all of the spare kit that we can think of. We'll label it what it is, put it in numbered bags, write a list of what's in each bag, give it to my sister, who's not outdoorsy at all and wouldn't know each item from each other if we told her. So it is very much a case of when we get to somewhere and think, right, we want that now, I tell her what bag it's in and what number item it is, and she just picks it out and sends it to us. So
when are you actually setting off on this trip now?
On the 22nd of March, we actually start walking. We're travelling down on the 21st of March. And
how long do you think it's going to take you?
It's just under 10 weeks, somewhere around 9.5 weeks.
Okay. And is there? Do you mind if I can catch up with you at some stage if I join you for a short while?
That'd be absolutely fantastic.
And have you got anybody else sort of coming along to give you any support at all?
We have indeed. We've got a couple of people meeting us in London, we hope. And then when we get to buy home, I think we've got somebody walking with us every day that week. And then a couple of people slightly further north, and then as is usually the case, because most of the people we know are down in England. Once we get up through Yorkshire, then we're going to be, as far as we know, by ourselves then until we get to Cape Wrath. Right,
okay, and Cape Wrath is it's a bit of a from experience, a bit of a shock when you get to the far end. Certainly when you get to the bay beforehand, which I presume you must be going through. It's a wonderful location if you're lucky enough to catch the weather. But that last bit of coast walk up to Cape Wrath is unbelievably difficult. Certainly Lee and I found that, and I'm certain, and the people we met starting at Cape Wrath to do the Cape Wrath Trail and come south. Their first day was tortuous.
Well, I must have spent an entire evening last week, and it must be something I looked at months and months ago, but I revisited last week how we're going to get away from Cape Wrath, and whether we're going to go over to Durness or whether we're going to go back to Kinlochbervie. And I think the answer is I'm going to take information on both options, and we'll decide at the time. Because it seems to be swings and roundabouts either way, and it's whether we can face retracing our steps over that terrain back to Kinlochbervie, or whether it's better to just follow the road out to Durness.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends on state of mind and the weather, of course, but certainly the road out to Durness, or down to the ferry point, is longer than you might think it is, and obviously you've got to time it just right to catch the ferry boat that goes across. Which is usually the beginning or the end of the day. And then you could obviously, in Durness, you've got everything you could possibly want. But somebody was telling me the other day that I believe the guys have been working on the lighthouse at Cape Wrath and having some kind of visitor centre there, or tea and coffee or whatever. It'd be a good spot to camp if you could camp there.
The way that I've currently got it planned, I think we're probably only going to have an 8-mile day up to Cape Bath, so I'm hoping we can sort of get there and get at least part of the way out the same day. Although obviously, if tea and cake is on offer, I'm never going to say no to tea and cake. It's so rare that we ever get to anywhere when it's open that serves tea and cake. So if there's anything on offer, we'll certainly partake. But I'm just in mind of timescales. I have in mind to sort of walk in and out within the day, even though I appreciate it's probably going to be the following day before we actually get to a bus stop to get a bus south again.
Oh, well, it'll be interesting to see what you do. So if I can meet up with you, that'd be great. But failing that, if you don't mind, I'll give you a call at the end of it and see what you've learned on this particular trip and how it compares to the previous one.
Yeah, I think that's actually going to be an interesting thing once we've done it, to see how it does compare, because obviously last time it was all new and we hadn't done anything like it before. This time we've picked a very, very different route, so hopefully it's going to be, again, all new, and I'm certainly looking forward even to the passing through the more inhabited areas of passing through London. I even see that as being quite an interesting part of the route. I mean, obviously, going over the Munros in Scotland, if the weather conditions permit, is probably what's in my mind as the highlight. But even, let's say, the inhabited bits that other people might think, oh, that's something to be endured, I'm really quite looking forward to going through and seeing it at, slow pace and being able to look over the surroundings.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting to be a window in the world and read your blog as you go. And if you wouldn't mind, just give me the blog address again for people who are listening to this.
It's gaylybird.blogspot.com, and Gaylybird is Gayley bird.blogspot.com. Or you can still just go to Google and type Mick and Gayle, and that usually finds us as the first match.
Oh, yeah, that famous. Did you? Am I right in thinking you did the Coast to Coast not so long back?
We did it a couple of months after we did Landend on the Groats. We decided it'd be good to go and do the width of England the same year that we'd done the length of it. And
presumably with the sort of level of fitness that you had and experience at that time, it couldn't have taken you very long.
We did it in 12 days, and we were so lucky. It rained constantly the first 2 weeks in September 2008, and it did not rain a single drop on us the whole time we walked across. I had an absolutely fantastic time. Even the bits in the middle that people say were a bit dull, just linking the more interesting bits. It was really good. Fantastic experience.
Is it a walk you'd recommend to people as a sort of a holiday walk?
Absolutely. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. You've got all the different features from the highlands of walking through the Lake District. I'd never been to the bits of Yorkshire and the East Coast that it went to, and so even the bits in between with walking through farmland, I've got no objection to walking through farmland, and because the sun was shining, there was lots going on. The farmers were bringing in the crops and the hay, and it was all, from my point of view, it was a fantastic walk.
Interesting. Well, that's worth knowing. Right then, Gayle. Well, I'll leave you to your planning and obviously the more important glass of wine that you have in your hand there to help with your studying.
Just keeping my throat lubricated.
Absolutely.
Whilst I talk to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can meet up and discuss your trip so far over a drink or two. That'd be really good. And,
that'd be great.
And I hope the sun shines on you once again.
Well, if I can just order sunshine in between Kilsyth and Fort William, that would be fantastic. Because that's when we're doing the lumpy bits of Scotland, weather permitting.
Well, I think it'll be. It is interesting to read a blog like yours as you do a walk, because, as you rightly say, passing through the southeast and through London and going over Munros at the other end. I'm sure there'll be lots of observations which will naturally come from you, because you're a very eloquent writer, and it'll make for very interesting reading each day as the story unfolds.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to string together some coherent words at the end of the day, and hopefully the blogging technology will work for me again this time. I was wondering whether to resubscribe to Pocket Mail, which I used last time, to make absolutely sure that I can type something on a sensible size of keyboard with a sensible size of screen, but it seems their website doesn't exist anymore, or they're having some problems, so I will be just with the BlackBerry. So hopefully I can make that work for me. I've certainly used it on a few trips so far, so hopefully it'll be okay on this trip.
Well, we'll look forward to reading the words of wisdom, and if not, I'm sure you'll find a way around it. You've got the right sort of contacts.
Hopefully.
Well, have a safe trip, Gayle and Mick, and we look forward to catching up with you as the trip unfolds.
Okay, talk to you soon then.
So do have a look at Gayle's blog site and see if you're actually on the route. I'm sure they would appreciate some walking company at some stage. They've met up with a few people on route already, and it always helps remove the pain of a long and boring day. Well, thanks to both of my guests, both to Gayle and to Evan, for joining in. And also just to remind you two things once again. If you could find the time to vote for us on the European Podcast Awards, we'd be very, very grateful. And if you are thinking of coming to the Backpackers Club Lightweight Show, it's a free entry down on the Bath Racecourse, then please drop us an email if you want us to bring anything of particular interest that you'd like to see and fondle, as they say. Anyway, until next time, I'm going to get out again into the sunshine as best I can, sit back and relax and enjoy it for the few moments while it lasts. You never know. Going on last year's weather, it could all come to an abrupt end before official summertime. So we have to make the most of these things and get out at the weekends and enjoy life a little bit more. And on that note, bye folks, take care and catch you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear more from our extensive free library, please visit the website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
You can now follow The Outdoor Station on Facebook, where we chat about each programme we produce, answer questions and discuss future productions. Why not join us there?
This podcast is produced and hosted by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.